Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today we have only Harley and Paul, which is a good change because sometimes we don't need Nick. Nick is sometimes not a good presence. So this time we kicked him out. um, so I thought we would talk about feeling sad and feeling depressed and hopeless on the recovery journey because that is something all of us as OCD sufferers go through, and it's a feeling that people struggle with quite a lot because there's that notion that to keep going, to have the drive to keep going on, we need not to feel sad, because sadness kind of like it feels like it's a hindrance and a barrier in our life. So but it's also very natural to feel sad about suffering from OCD because it's like I cannot escape my brain. How do I feel better? So I thought we would all just talk about our experience with that. Also, guys, just a heads up, I think my internet connection is not doing great today. But so if I get choppy in between, just keep continue talking. Or and if it gets too bad, I'll
Okay.
turn my video off. But hey, um, okay, so Paul, since welcome back to the channel, first of all, after a long time. What would you say was your, did you ever feel particularly very sad or feel like you were going through depression even with OCD? And what was your thought process about it? How did you go about it?
So I had probably about a year and a half where I felt like I hadn't felt a positive emotion. It was just constant negative emotions, and I it just every day all I thought about was, like, to be honest, all I thought about was killing myself because it was like nothing was good in my life, nothing was happy. I was compulsively drinking at night to try and get rid of the feelings. I was taking medication during the day, and I just was in this constant. I just felt like I could never get away from it. Um, so yeah, I definitely did feel it. And I would say about a year and a half I was like that. The biggest thing that I did for me that got me out of that is I started really looking at, I mean, depression a lot like anxiety, where um, I knew that what my brain was telling me every day, like just to lay down, to not do anything, that my life sucked, that I was never going to get better, so on and so forth. Um, that essentially all I had to do was um, just get out of bed every day and make myself exercise. Um, and I know it sounds, but for me, I just got out of the house, enjoyed time with friends, made myself not lay in bed all day, and do physical exercise, and that's what made the biggest difference for me, honestly. Um, and I would say within a few months of really doing that consistently, I've had once or twice where maybe for like a month, depression kind of kicked in a little bit, but I would never allow myself to just lay down and wallow and self-pity and just feel those emotions. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want, and I'm going to be uncomfortable, and even if I don't have the energy, I feel like crap, I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other and just go to work every day. I'm going to do me, and it for me it went away pretty quickly, honestly.
Okay. Hardy, what about you? Like,
Um,
what were your sad, low moments like? And did you feel like it was something separate from OCD that you had to deal with, or was it all just one big ball of the same thing?
so for me, I knew that my OCD was causing my sadness. So it wasn't really a separate thing because before my OCD got severe, I was genuinely like very carefree. I was very laid back. I was genuinely quite a happy person.
Hmm.
So I didn't really question what or where the sadness was coming from. I knew that it was from my OCD. Um, I don't really know if I could say that it caused me to have depression, but it did cause me to like lose interest in like my activities that I used to enjoy doing, whether it be going out with friends or like even like to points of like watching TV.
or watching Netflix, etc. Just things that I used to enjoy doing. I just lost interest in it. And I think the thing that similar to what Paul was saying, it just felt like you couldn't get away from it, no matter what you tried to do. It was just like it was like a dark cloud over you all the time. And I guess the way that I got out of it, or well, I say get out of it, um, the way that I started to like change my thinking about my sadness and everything was really looking into Stoicism and
Mm,
philosophy, and especially people like Marcus Aurelius, like someone that I've now really began to look up to a lot because I feel like Stoicism helps you not just with OCD, but in everyday things, in everyday problems. So yeah, Stoicism really helped me to calm myself down and try and look at situations or problems or even like confrontation with friends or family. It helps you see it all in a rational way. And I think that's what's helped me a, a lot. Yeah.
mm. Also, just out of curiosity, what's that frame on your wall in the back? Is it like a CD frame or is it some artwork?
Oh, what that?
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's how would you describe it? It's just like it's a picture of like, and inside it has a picture of the sky at night, and that's what the sky looked like when me and my girlfriend first met for the
Oh,
first
yeah, I think you
time.
mentioned that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Nick asked about it.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank
Paul learned some lessons from some romantic lessons from Harley. Um,
Hmm.
um, I think you guys have like said some very important things over here because I think for me as well, there was no distinct way or definition for me to say that I had depression or was going through depression. I think at the very least I can say I went through some depressive episodes, maybe like bouts of like intense
Mm,
sadness. But I always felt like that even if I felt sad on the inside, I was a pretty like hardly like you. I was pretty carefree, like very happy go lucky, quite high energy amongst my friends as well. Always joking, kind of like just always making making fun of friends just very lightly, obviously, and stuff like that. And it, and I at times I felt like there were two extreme sides of me that
mm,
while I had very low moments in isolation in internally, at the same time I never let that stop me from at least trying to have the time of my life. You know, I still went ahead and
mhm.
really indulged in joy and laughter and excitement. And even later on in my journey, when I felt very emotionally numb, even then I would not, I mean, yes, there were moments where I started to just avoid hanging out because it felt very high energy. At the same time, I didn't completely give up my entire life in a way, right? I still socialized, I still like met my friends, I still like laughed with them and
Yeah.
did all the things that people do with their friends and other loved ones and stuff like that. So it was a strange, but it was a strange
Mhm.
odd kind of dichotomy between like internally suffering but also just like keeping up with like a certain life as well. Paul, I so with you feeling like very low, like the moments that you just described where you were like, I wanted to kill myself. While you were experiencing that, were you also, because usually the image that people have when you're having such low moments is that you're completely isolated, you're shut off from the world, not meeting a lot of people, not a lot of contact, just in your room, getting by with the basics in life, right? That's the usual image that conjures up in someone's mind. But and that might be true for some people as well. It's not that it isn't. But I'm curious to know what was your this was the feeling aspect and the thought aspect of your life. But in terms of just living your life, what did that look like when going through this low period?
decided to live my life, I guess I set myself on a little bit more of a schedule, where I made myself, like, every day as soon as my alarm went off, I would, actually get up out of bed. I would make my bed. I would make sure I always made myself eat breakfast, and then I would go straight to workouts, and I would get up early. And it may sound, small, but I feel like that little step, and made the biggest difference for me, because it started my day off right, to where I was going to do everything else that I was supposed to do in my day, no matter how I felt.
Hmm.
And then also Claire Week's Self-Help for Your Nerves. That book really helped me too with my depression, fixed sensitization. And I thought, hey, maybe that, and that's what really changed my mindset too. Reading the books on the reading list helped me a lot, like when I was going through that too, like trying to maintain, I like healthy habits in my life, I guess you could call them.
Hmm. Okay. Also, I don't know if this was my um I think, like, talking about structure, like, that is quite important. And I think one of the very important lessons that I learned on the journey was that I don't need to feel a specific feeling to put in the recovery work, or to even carry on with my day, or to carry out any kind of activity. I can do those things regardless, because even if I'm internally feeling sad or demotivated or frustrated or annoyed, that doesn't physically alter my capability to go out with friends, exercise, complete school assignments, or even do exposures. That's the main thing. People are like, oh, I already feel so sad, I already feel demotivated, how can I do exposures with that feeling? But you can still do that regardless, which is where, like, with
Mm.
Paul, when you said that you try to treat sad feelings or depression like anxiety in a way. I mean, they have that, the mindset in approaching them is quite similar in that sense, and that kind of really helps. um and Clear Weeks, like you said, is a great book for, like, helping, and also Paul David's book, At Last Alive. Both these books are really important in understanding um, how to tackle your day-to-day life, even if you're not feeling the best. Um, Harley, what about you? Um, did you at times feel like there was too much of a, like, difference in, like, your carefreeness and the sad feelings? And were there moments where you were unable to, let's say, get out of bed or have a very active kind of day when you're feeling very low? Did you find yourself just becoming lazy or complacent when you felt sad?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It was definitely a struggle getting out of bed in the morning, because as soon as I up, my mind would just start scanning, or like start ruminating, and then I'd start feeling anxious or guilty, and I wouldn't be able to physically get out of bed until I try and work this situation out in my head, or until I get some sort of relief. And once I get the relief, then I can start my day. Um, but now it's just all about just bringing it all for the ride, and just for me, being around people who, are gonna be, I don't know how to word it, like just be around more positive people, and be around people who are going to uplift you. And maybe I think it helps a lot to also speak to people in the OCD community, because it makes you feel less alone. And I think a lot of people in the community feel very alone, especially with whatever theme they're struggling with, or whatever, even mental health and mental illness in general, they feel alone. So I think it's very good to have people around you who have gone through, or who are going through similar things with you, because you can build, I don't know, you feel, like I said, you just feel less alone. And I think that really helped me. I've met amazing people like Sam, like you, Nick, like all these people that I've met, and it just helps a lot. It helps you. It
Hmm.
helps. I don't know. It just helps you. That in itself motivates you to want to, get better. I guess because you're looking at people who have done it and who have got through the other side, and it's like, okay, well, Nick can do it, or if Momin can do it, then why can't I? So
Yeah.
it is real motivation to have people
I
like that
think
around.
one thing that you touched upon is resonates with me in the sense that when I talk to people and and they're talking about the fears or the beliefs, and I ask them, but like, what makes you think that, or why do you think you need to do this or stuff like that? And they're like, well, because a lot of my friends also say that. So a lot of the beliefs and the behaviors that we
Mm,
have adopted for our lives um, come from the people that we surround ourselves with as well. And we don't often
mm,
even realize that. And
yeah.
I see this especially with our OCD, because like, when friends get together and they're discussing their relationships, or they're generally discussing their love lives, it is rampant with all these beliefs that, oh no, if he is going out like every weekend with his friends for a football game or something, I'm not dating him. Or like, I mean, this is a
Mm,
completely hypothetical example. Like, I don't know if anyone says that, but I mean, obviously there are like these random kinds of rules, unsaid
yeah.
rules, and that we have attached to dating life and stuff like that. So especially with our OCD, I feel like people derive a lot of their irrational beliefs from the friends that they hang out with, and it is perpetuated by the society we live in, the social media messaging that we get about
Mm,
relationships. This is a red flag, that is a red flag, and stuff like that. So it's also very important to, I mean, it's not that you have to cut those people out from your life. If they're like great friends, obviously, I mean, generally stick around
mm,
with them. But as far as views are concerned, it's very important to kind of distance ourselves from that a little bit and be able to develop our own thinking as well. Not just be like, oh,
mm,
my 6 7 friends are saying that this is a red flag, so then it must be a red flag, right? We can have
mm,
our own opinion about certain things as well. So, and that's why it's important to also venture out and just talk to different people in life, even if they're not your friend, even if there's someone on the, I don't know, in the grocery store that you meet, and it's a great conversation. There's so much that you can learn from that person as well. It's a different perspective
mm.
from what you're used to on a daily basis. um Paul, were you able to ever share with any of your friends what, when you were feeling very sad or like even suicidal, like, sorry, I
Like,
kind
was
of just
I?
ended mid sentence. That was not the
Yes.
internet connection. That was me. That was me just not completing the sentence. Go ahead.
Um, so I mean, there was probably a couple people that I shared with. I got to a point where I really tried to. I realized that a lot of that became kind of compulsive for me, so I had to kind of step back from it,
Hmm.
um, and just not. I mean, like well, because like the basically like after the first time I read Meditations, this was like 3 months in. I read four out of the five books, and I really tried to just stop compulsively complaining because it was just a really big habit for me. But yeah, there were people I shared with. I think perspective really plays a key part there. I had a buddy who I was just freaked out one time. I was crying, upset, stuff with my job was going wrong, my girlfriend, and my anxiety was through the roof. And I was thinking about my breathing 24/7. And it had been months I hadn't had any improvements. And, he was like, well, Paul, like you're a good looking dude, you have a good job, your life, you always have a place to eat, you have food, you don't have money troubles. um, you have a pretty good life compared to like 99% of the people in the world. And he shared with me some stories about his life and where he had came from and what his current life situation was. And I think a lot of times we forget perspectively that there's other situations where there's people who are literally like dying, who would trade places with us in a second to be miserable,
Mm,
and be depressed or anxious. And I think when that perspective shift for me really occurred, I was able to be like, hey, this may kind of suck, but it's not that big of a deal. The depression part, like I would say, was probably the easiest thing for me to get over in my journey. But it was, it, I don't know. Like I said, perspective I think is really key there when it comes to having a shift with that as well.
Yeah. And for both of you, I also want to ask, like, was there, like, did any of your, like, Paul, you just mentioned your friends spoke to you, but like, did you also notice like other friends or loved ones or family members and stuff, or even colleagues, hardly for you, any of your class fellows, who noticed anything different about you in terms of your moods or like something like that?
Uh, I think maybe like my best mate could tell because like I've known him since I was like 15, so he
Mm,
could definitely see a change in me. But in terms of like other people within my friendship group, I mean, I wouldn't be able to say whether they could see a change in me. I mean, there was never no one ever mentioned anything to me. I mean, uh, I don't know. There was times at the beginning of my struggle with OCD where like my my mum started to like sense that something was up. Like she could tell my mood was different and stuff. But yeah, apart from that, I think the only two people who noticed a change in me was my mum and my best mate. I can't
mm,
really think of anyone else who, yeah.
Yeah, I had like three people, kind of same scenario. It's really interesting you bring that up because there's, I think when you go through that and you meet people, you can kind of tell going through it, like that someone's going through it, like
yeah.
Mm.
the agitation that kind of just sits for no reason, where people just get pissed off or irritated real easy, or they're just um, you can like almost you can tell when you went through it, but
Mm.
going through it now that you bring it up, that's kind of a good point that most people didn't really even notice.
Mm.
Yeah, I think pretty much it was the same for me as well. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the fears attached to this is also people fearing that their loved ones or friends and family are going to start noticing a change in them. And people don't want to feel that kind of vulnerability, that I don't want others to know that I'm suffering from my mental health, or I don't want to be seen weak in front of anybody, or in terms of even like people who are um, either working or even in school or college as well. You don't want to seem like someone who is not pulling their weight, or someone who is not able to handle the workload or something like that. So there is that kind of censoring that people want to keep doing as well. And I think for me, I don't think I actively consciously censored myself in any way, but I think that I, until and unless I didn't really speak to my friends about it, people didn't notice that much. It's only when I started to be more open about my mental health struggles, when they were like, yeah, when they started to understand and pick up things more. Um, but they did at times pick up on the fact that I used to be very high energy and now I wasn't anymore. That's something they noticed, but they didn't pin it
Mm.
down to, they didn't suspect it was to do something with mental health. I think they just thought that it was something to do with growing up in a way,
Mm.
which I think, I mean, is part of it as well. I mean, you become calmer unless you are Nick, who is having like 10 cups of coffee or Red Bulls every single day. Then you're high energy even when you're 40. But but yeah, that was something that really didn't like, a lot of people didn't notice. I was still seen as the carefree, happy-go-lucky, fun guy kind of thing, and that I felt like was a way to carry at sometimes, because it felt like a
Mm.
responsibility. It felt like, oh, I need to be the one to maybe cheer other people up or
Mm.
something like that. So yeah, and that and
I
that's
think
also why I didn't want to feel sad.
I think as well, I think the reason why maybe this is just me, but I think maybe the reason why sometimes people may not notice a change is because either they're struggling with something themselves and they're so in their head that they're not really taking notice of a change in you because they're so caught up in how
Yeah.
they're feeling. That's like I think when we're suffering, we forget that we seem to have this mindset that, oh, I'm the only one who has problems. No one else has problems. Like, why me? And that's what I got caught up in a lot. And I didn't really take into consideration other people's problems, or I just considered their problems minor compared to mine. And that in itself fuels the cycle as well. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of reasons why people may not notice why you're struggling or why there's a change. But I think that's definitely one of the main reasons why.
And I think it's a very important life lesson in general as well, not just with OCD, that
Mm,
people are really not thinking about you as much as you think they are.
mm,
They are,
yeah,
everyone is just thinking about themselves. Literally everyone is
yeah,
just thinking about themselves, and that's all. Um, I might take 5 minutes in the day to be like, oh, Paul is such a terrible person. He's so annoying, right? but but then after those 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. I need to eat something. What do I want to eat for lunch? I have to go meet my friends. It's me. It's me.
yeah.
That's how everyone
Hmm.
functions. Everyone just thinks about someone. It's easy to make that judgment and just think about someone, and then everyone moves on. That's literally
Yeah.
it. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's a very important point you said there. Anything, Harley or Paul, anything you guys want to just say about feeling sad while suffering from OCD, or feeling hopeless, or even if it's depression that you might be feeling. Anything else you want to like cover in these last few minutes?
Um, I would say, one thing, and I think I mentioned this in a few videos, but I always had this feeling, even like growing up, and then when everything got, real bad with anxiety and depression, I had this feeling that I was broken, like there was just something wrong with me.
Hmm.
And what had originally attracted me to OCD recovery, believe it or not, was I just was looking at stuff on Instagram compulsively, searching for a way to try to, make it stop. And I saw a post and it said, "You are not broken," and it was Rob's post, and it really resonated with me. And then, I just want to say, anyone that's watching this that is struggling, like, you aren't broken. Like, it is something that you can, you can work through. You can, fix it. It takes time, and it's not as it may not be as quick as you want it, but it can be done. And then also, if you want to make a difference, I would say really start educating yourself. There's lots of tools that, especially like with Rob and you guys have available, and just start trying to stay consistent with the habits that you have in your life. And just not focus on trying to get better. Just focus on educating yourself and being patient, and just creating good habits in your life to move forward. And that's going to be the best thing that you can do at this point, if you're at that point with the depression, in my opinion. So
Harley?
I mean, I think Paul said it perfectly, but just to go
Yeah.
off some things he said, yeah, just bring it for the ride, and just make sure you stay hopeful, because there is hope out there, and there's a lot of resources out there today, whereas in the past, like many years ago, we didn't have this. No one had access to any of this, like what
Yeah.
we're doing right now. So yeah, make sure you read the books, and like Paul said, uh, lifestyle habits, make sure you're maintaining them. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to be repeating everything that Paul
Yeah,
said.
yeah. No,
But
I
yeah,
think I think that's the one thing that I also really want to just highlight, which I already said, is that don't let a certain feeling or lack of a certain feeling stop you from putting in the work for recovery, and just keeping up with the life structure that you really need to, you know, um, get to the other side, per se.
yeah,
Um, Anyway, I have a call to jump out onto now, but thank you both for joining. Paul, thank you for being
no
here.
worries.
hopefully see you again sooner than later on the channel again. It's always great to have you on the channel.
Nice to meet you, Paul, by the way. I feel
You
like
too, buddy.
Oh yeah,
I
this
feel
is
like
the
every
first time
time I
you're
every time I come on a call, I feel like I'm meeting new people all the time. So, it's
yeah,
cool.
he recently Paul, have you met Gemma yet?
I don't think I've met her in person. No, I haven't.
Not
Or like
in
over the
person,
phone
but
or
like
whatever.
on a video call.
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, then we need to get you and Gemma on a phone call as well. That needs to happen too. Let's all
Yeah.
become friends. All right, guys, have a good rest of the day. Have fun.
You
See you
too.
again soon. Bye.
Take care, guys. Bye.